On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump becomes president. Again, today we're going to discuss how his previous presidency can help us predict what's going to happen for real estate in 2025 and how it will affect you and your family. Bill, where do you see real estate going in 2025 and what makes you believe that?
My opinion is the real estate market will become more stable. I don't think we're going to see way big ups and downs and all arounds like we did before.
Okay.
And I think it's going to become more stable. We're going to see interest rates be not drop tremendously, but that's going to create a more stable market.
Is this something we saw during Donald Trump's previous candidacy?
Yes, during his previous administration, the inflation rate was right near the target at that 2% that the Fed has been trying to get to for a long time.
Yeah. And was it because of his business practices, or do you feel like we were simply going through a low interest rate period and that's what stimulated people buying real estate?
Well, interest rates when Donald was in there was definitely higher than where they went during the previous administration. And so it allowed it to basically function as a normal real estate market. We got into an abnormal real estate market because of what happened with the previous administration, with all the stuff that happened in the low interest rates.
Yeah.
We just got out of control. And I think we're going to get back into control in regards to
Control is
home
a good
values.
word, right? Stability is a big word that people are looking for. I want to take everybody back to 2016 because in this modern world, 8 years feels like 800 years, right? What came in 2016 was a sense of optimism from not the retail buyer or not people like you and I, but a sense of optimism from investors, the investors who loan out the money for people to buy homes. And the reason we had optimism amongst that group of people was largely due to his pro-business stances, right? Optimism, we could all be optimism about the housing market, optimistic. But if investors and people with money are like, I'm not sure where money's going to go, right? If the people who are loaning out the money don't trust that their money is stable, they're probably going to be a bit more hesitant to loan it out, right? So what we saw in 2016 wasn't just optimism from the public. It was optimism from the people who were loaning the public money. So we saw a perfect combination, right? You had retail buyers optimistic about the housing market, right? Because interest rates were low before 2016, but a lot of people weren't optimistic about owning a house in America. So what we saw 2016 through 2020 was that people were optimistic about buying houses and investors were optimistic about loaning money because of the pro-business stances.
Yeah, and it will provide that because he's a businessman. He's run a lot of different businesses. He's got people that work for him that also have a business background. The government has not been a business. And he's looking at this more from a business standpoint. And I think people that are in the industry that are working, hard workers, they're looking at it from the standpoint of, oh, I think everything's going to be run accordingly as opposed to having a lot of a waste out there.
Okay. And we can't leave out the fact that interest rates from 2016 to 2020 were in Donald Trump's favor, right? We can't pretend like he magically waved a wand and made houses cheaper. But as you and I discuss on this program, low interest rates actually cause housing prices to go up. So how did he and his pro-business stances keep interest rates low, but the median cost of a house only rose by about $40,000 over his 4 years, whereas in the past 4 years, we've seen the median price of houses in America go up by six figures. How was he able to maintain both of those things?
Well, I think it's just confidence. I think it provided confidence in the consumer that knows that there is a stable market, that there was going to be some controls that were going to take place. There was going to be business development, but at the same time doing it responsibly.
So based on his previous term, what predictions can we give to people for this coming up term, right? He hasn't left his pro-business stances behind, but the interest rate has now gone from the mid-2s, low-3s up to a pretty stock standard 7%. How is this going to affect people and their families in terms of purchasing real estate and the price of their homes going forward?
Trump has really put in a situation to where he's got a little bit of a battle to go into. He's going to battle. There's been a lot of talk about tariffs. Trump's going to do tariffs and he's going to increase inflation and all that. Trump is using the tariffs as a negotiating tool to basically help the economy within the United States. And doing so will keep everything pretty much status quo, and it's not going to get overheated and it's not going to go underneath.
Have you heard anything about lowering the amount of foreign investors able to purchase homes in America? One of the big issues that no one talks about when they talk about tariffs and how Trump is going to handle places like China. When they talk about how Trump's going to handle places like China, what we never talk about is how things like FIRPTA laws allow foreign internationals to purchase homes in anywhere in America as long as they pay that 15% tax back to the United States government. Has there been any talk about maybe raising that percentage to 25, 30%, tariffs on real estate to perhaps dissuade foreign internationals from purchasing American homes, turning them into... In Las Vegas, there are certain parts of Mountain's Edge that are 100% owned by Chinese investors. They're rental properties, and they've been rental properties for 10 years, which means nobody's had a chance to purchase these properties. Do we see any sort of change in this market that may help keep costs a bit lower?
I think everything's on the table for Trump. I think he's going to open it up. He's going to look at it not only with the foreigners, but also with the big Blackstones of the world, the people that are buying, the investors going out and buying these homes. And he's for America. And I believe that I think Trump is definitely going to try and make some changes to where the consumer will benefit.
Okay. I just want to make sure our numbers were correct. Okay. From 2016 to 2020, so let's go quarter one, the average home price went from about $300,000 flat, and it peaked before he left office at about $329,000 quarter one of 2020, right? So we saw about a $30,000 growth in his term in office, despite interest rates being low, which often cause prices to rise. From 2020 until the current 2024, we saw the median price of a home go up by $100,000 with the same interest rates. Even as interest rates have started to rise into the 7%, 2024, the average price of a home is still $427,000, despite interest rates being at 7%. Is that something you see staying still going forth, or do you think Donald Trump will do something to maybe bring the median down, something to keep it stable? Where do you see it?
Well, my opinion is if we saw interest rates drop again, a lot of people want to have lower interest rates because of the affordability, and it's hard to afford. And I talk to clients every single day, all day long, and that mortgage payment is a big issue for them. But if as soon as the rates drop, you would see those values rise. So it is a balance between keeping that interest rate fairly steady and home values not skyrocketing.
Well, we saw it in 2021, right after Biden got elected, right after everybody came out of COVID. The median price from a home in America jumped up $130,000 in a year and a half, right? Because people saw the interest rate going from 3% to 4% to 5%, and there was this almost desperation to get in as soon as possible. They didn't care that houses were $75,000 over list price, right? They ignored that part. Everybody likes to talk about the interest rates during the Biden presidency, but I was selling houses and we were getting offers $75,000 over the list price. Why? Because the interest rates were so low that people were flush with cash to spend, right?
Correct.
So this idea that just by lowering interest rates, you're going to fix the housing market, I think it's the opposite. I think the stability you were talking about earlier in the business sector, I think that is the best thing he could do for the real estate market.
We do not want property values to go up 10% per year. We don't want it to go up 15% per year.
That's unhealthy.
That's just not a normal, healthy real
and that's
estate
someone,
market.
me and Bill, we are homeowners. If our properties went up 10%, we would be financially very happy. But we also acknowledge that that's not good for the average person out there who can barely afford a condo or a townhome. That's not healthy for them.
Not healthy. And I think that we're going to see wages raise
Mhm.
as in the Trump administration. I think that that's a big thing that's going to happen. And I think that we're also going to potentially, I hope that the Trump administration will actually work on regulation to allow builders to actually build supply because there's such a shortage of homes in nationally, and the time period that it takes to get a home up and running through all the regulation, through all the various regulations throughout the different counties, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And we need more homes.
It was just announced today that by 2032, Las Vegas could potentially run out of land for new homes. That's it. 7 years away, and we're done. What concerns do you have for the real estate market under the Trump administration, right? We've talked about how deregulations and how his business practices could inspire investors in Wall Street to perhaps be more active in the market. But what concerns do you have?
My biggest concern is that he's not going to have enough time. Everybody wants it now. Everybody wants the solutions today. And I think with changing, it's like guiding a ship. The ship is huge. And to turn the ship, it takes a lot to make it turn.
Yeah.
And we have a U.S. government that is just ginormous. And it's going to take a little bit of time to shift that. I think the moment has momentum now, and I hope the momentum continues. I will tell you, this first of the year, Brandon, I don't know if it's New Year's resolutions, if it's the confidence that has been implied with the new Trump administration, but there are people wanting to buy a home now, getting pre-approved, understanding what do they need to do now to get ready for next year, to get ready in 2 months. And they're all looking at doing it right now.
I think I've probably sent you 12 people who are either looking to get qualified now, get their credit fixed. It's that optimism we were talking about, right? And ultimately, I think despite we try to keep politics out of this. All I care about is how the average consumer views real estate. And right now, there's an optimism for real estate that I haven't seen in the past 2 to 3 years. Since about January 1st, people have been blowing up my phone, coming out of the woodworks. Hey, Brandon, can we go look at new builds? Hey, Brandon, right? No one's talking about the 7% interest rate. It's almost like people are like, okay, this is the new normal. It took us a year. It sucked. But my rent went from $2,000 to $2,300, right? My rent went from $1,500 to $1,700. What am I getting by waiting, right?
Well, there is a pent-up demand. There's just this pent-up demand that's kind of behind it that's going to continue to flow in. You've got demographics with the millennials, with the Gen Xers, and all those Gen Zs. They're all kind of coming to that point where it's time. And a lot of people, when they bought their house 5, 6, 7 years ago, it doesn't fit them anymore.
Yeah.
And they need to move. So I think there's definitely pent-up demand. You got way more household formations than what they're building on a annual basis, and we're just going to go further and further behind. So my hope is that he has enough time to implement some things to get the housing market even stronger.
So we're in January, beginning of 2025. Give me your best real estate prediction for Donald Trump and how this affects real estate in the next year.
So my opinion on this is that interest rates will be in the mid sixes, probably 6.4 to 6.6. I think that property values will go up between 3 and 5%.
My prediction for 2025 real estate and how Donald Trump will affect it is pretty simple. As we're already seeing with the TikTok ban, Donald Trump is looking for any big free win that allows him to win over a large generation of millennials and Gen Z who kind of don't know which way the wind blows. And if we see a wave of people starting to buy houses and it's getting reported in the media, I think Donald Trump will 100% want to capitalize on that. He will make sure that everybody in America, through his Twitter, through he will say, Americans are buying homes, under Biden, under Biden, I don't do a good impression, but under Biden, no one wanted to buy, and under me, they can't wait to buy homes. And I think if there's a growth in real estate, he will make it a focus, right? He will 100% look for any win that he can hold over, the Biden presidency's head. And so I think if we see people buying in mass, he will push it. He will do everything he can to make sure Americans are owning homes. My biggest hope is that he does some sort of adjustment with FIRPTA and makes it more expensive for foreign internationals to buy homes here. But that's a pipe dream. He has a lot of things to handle, but I definitely think we see a lot of strong movement in real estate in 2025.
Yeah. One thing's for certain, change is here.
I just like saying China. Hey, if you're someone watching and you've been sitting on the sidelines, you've watched your rent gain $100, $200, $300, and you're tired of waiting on the sidelines, right? The optimism that we're talking about, it's everywhere. And if you need help, Bill, tell them where to find you.
BillGaylord.com. Go for a free consultation, and we walk through your situation, do a CIA analysis, credit income asset, and see where you stand today. And let's get you ready to go out and purchase a home. We want to get you into a home.
Yeah, look at Bill. Look at him. He's old. He's been doing this for a long time, okay? He's the best in the business. That's why we always have him on the show. As for me, my name is Brandon from Vegas. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. We want to hear from you guys. Where do you think Donald Trump is doing with real estate? What do you think he's going to be doing as a president? Do you feel the optimism around you, or are you still cynical and waiting to see more proof? Either way, we'd like to hear from you guys. We're going to keep going strong in 2025. And as always, come and be my neighbor.